Welcome to Across the Desk and our new series in partnership with CASDA, the Canadian Autism Spectrum Disorders Alliance. This series is focused on the National Autism Strategy. We hope you'll join the conversation about how this strategy can help autistic Canadians have full and equitable access to the resources they need to live a full life. The time to have this conversation is now. Hello and welcome to Across the Desk. My name is Elizabeth Plouffe and I am the host of Across the Desk. I'm also the founder of Spiro Careers Canada, and we are creating a platform to support people on the autism spectrum in overcoming the barriers to employment. And I am so excited today to continue our series with CASDA. And CASDA is the Canadian Autism Spectrum Disorders Alliance. And this is an organization I joined, as I squint, 3-4 years ago, but has been in existence since 2010. Senator Jim Munson published a report, Pay Now or Pay Later, about the autism community and how the government had to step in now, or it was going to have to step on something later. I am excited to welcome two new guests because we've had some repeats with CASDA, which has been amazingly fun. But today I am welcoming Perry Johnston and Courtney Weaver.
Hi. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming. Just a timestamp. We are in, what are we in? February 2021. Still in the grips of COVID and what have you. So what we're here to talk about today is something that is near and dear to most parents of somebody on the spectrum's heart, which is housing and autistic adults. And we were discussing before that when you're in the thick of a new diagnosis, either when your child is diagnosed, as mine was at 7, or when Perry's son was diagnosed at 17, it starts to get on your mind. What are we going to do when they hit 18 and that time comes at some point to leave the nest? And how do we find a nest, a safe nest, for our little guys to grow into and get the heck out of the house at some point is the hope. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself. I have fun facts to share later about Perry and Courtney, but Courtney's face is like, what? So, Perry, if you want to kick off, you are involved with it's the HAL-Lab.ca. So it's the Housing
through an Autism Lens Solutions Lab. And I'm a parent volunteer and the founder of this initiative. I got involved through our experience as a family. As you mentioned, Elizabeth, our son, who's now 19, but at the time was 17 when he was diagnosed with autism. Mm-hmm. And that began our journey to really figure out how we could support him and the life that he hoped to lead as he entered into adulthood. And one of the first issues that really stymied us was housing for him, where he could be independent but supported, when Ottawa has such a long waiting list for social housing, over 10 years.
What?
Yes.
See, Courtney, I can hitch that high-pitched. Really?
7 to 10 year waiting list.
That is staggering.
Yeah. Yeah, and in our case, so that's who I am. I'm a very passionate family member who felt that it was important to start working with other people who cared about this issue and this challenge in Ottawa to see if we couldn't come together and develop some solutions as a community and not just as individual families. And we're actually building out of our garage a coach house for our son.
Very cool.
So he can have at least that first sort of more secure opportunity to live on his own. But I think about as I age, as he ages, it's not a permanent solution. Mm-hmm. And it still keeps, he's quite isolated in that context. So for me, it was, well, how could I connect in with other families, other advocates?
Build him a network.
That's right. That's right. So that's a little bit about me.
And you were also public affairs with Genome Canada and supporting some really interesting projects there, focusing on health and agricultural research in the genomics area, which is way beyond my scope of intelligence. So
That's
nods to
right.
you, because I
Oh, thank you. Yes,
no
that's my
clue.
day job. I joined Genome Canada a year ago, just as the pandemic was starting. So I've never actually been in the office officially. I've worked virtually and onboarded all online, but it's a terrific opportunity. And I should just say, we won a top employer award this year, and it's partly because of the kind of it's a kind of organization which supports its staff to work hard and play hard, but also to be involved in community activities and volunteerism, like I am with the Housing through
Make a
an
difference.
Autism Lens Lab. Yeah.
So talking about supportive employers, Courtney, I tell you, when you were sharing your story before we got on, I mean, talk about an employment success story. So Courtney Weaver is an autism advocate, and I'm going to let you list the incredible jobs that you're doing right now, including working with the Housing Through an Autism Lens project. But please, Courtney, tell us what's going on with you and your day life. Because you put your superhero cape on for other things, but
oh, thanks, Elizabeth. So I am a self-advocate. I'm also a family member of a sister who is also diagnosed on the autism spectrum. I'm the oldest of three sisters. My middle sister is also diagnosed on the autism spectrum. My day and evening jobs and everything in between include full-time program support officer for the Accessibility, Accommodation, and Adaptive Computer Technology program of Shared Services Canada, office assistant for MP Mike Lake, part-time, and part-time self-advocate advisor for the Housing Through an Autism Lens project, as well as the Autism Mental Health Literacy project. I also do a little bit of volunteering for the Ottawa Adults with ASD initiative, which is soon going to be publishing a survey about results that we've been collecting over the past few months regarding quality of life for adults on the autism spectrum, as well as family members and professionals.
Do you sleep at some point?
And not done yet. I also do a bit of volunteering for Autism Speaks Canada. Primarily, it has involved volunteering on the day that the walk in Ottawa happens. So, and yes, I do sleep. I do see the importance of that. I really try to make it a goal to make sure that I'm off the computer by 9 o'clock at night in order to, give myself that hour of time so that quality of sleep is good. So yes, I do. I also certainly right now in my spare time have been trying to make sure that I go outside as much as I can. There are a lot of incredible routes that you can go to throughout Westboro where you don't have to worry about running into too many people while you're walking. And I also have been taking up the habit of doing this 100s 30-day challenge that you could find online, which is basically there's an exercise per day and you have to do 100 reps of it either at one time or in different manageable sets as much as you want. So yes, I am trying to balance all aspects of my life.
Well done.
Thank you. I got involved with the project because I do have a variety of lived housing experiences that I can offer to the team. I have lived outside of my hometown of Ottawa for both times I've gone to school, both as a bachelor's student in history at Queen's University, as well as a master's in critical disability studies at York University. I've lived with a few roommates. I have lived by myself. I'm currently living with one roommate, and I have a variety of living experiences. And also my middle sister, Ashley, who also has a higher degree of support needs than me. It has been quite a struggle for both our parents and also the parents of her fiance, Zach, who is also diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Thankfully, they do have an apartment right now, which is situated very conveniently where it's between both parents' houses, and
good.
The bus stop and also where to get groceries is in walking distance of them. Like, we're incredibly fortunate that we do have that. But I just, in preparation for this podcast, I texted my mom asking what were the steps that you did in order to get the apartment that Zach and Ashley currently have. And the list of what mom and also Zach's mom and also other similar moms in the situation has done is extensive. My mom attended numerous webinars and presentations where she was able to meet new people, get an idea of different housing options, but the wait lists are long. And also, mom and dad also didn't feel that making an apartment out of the family house would be the most beneficial for Ashley. And there was a nonprofit organization that did start a townhouse project where basically a student from Algonquin College would oversee four other people diagnosed on the autism spectrum and just would oversee them in their daily lives. There was a female version of this that mom did look into, but there were consistent challenges, such as there was frequent turnover of workers who would be supervising them. And so that meant a lot of change. The girls who were living in the house, all diagnosed in the autism spectrum, couldn't bring their boyfriends over, which would be a real problem for Ashley's boyfriend then, and now fiance, Zach. They've been engaged for over a year. And that some of the girls also didn't pay the rent on time. And so it just would not have been a good compatible living situation for Ashley. And then Ashley and Zach got engaged in December of 2019. And so the hope with their living together before officially tying the knot, which they're enthusiastically talking about doing in May of 2022, when the hope is we'll be past COVID-19 and we'll be able to have all family members there invited to the wedding. The hope is that to see how they are living together, because
I did the same thing.
If they tie the knot, then
you're stuck.
They've already got a life together for themselves.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I see full value. I think roommates, I discovered through roommates, through college and what have you, I'm not a good roommate in that I don't like living with people I don't know. Discovered that through residency, discovered that through a shared housing situation, discovered that when my husband and I, at my mother's request, I might add, moved in together. I think that's a fantastic philosophy. And this opportunity that you guys are building to develop those personal skills and develop those interpersonal skills and those independent skills, there's no other way to experience that other than some form of independent living, whether it be a coexisting, like I like the coach house idea as well. And that sits in my head as an option. But I also love what your parents have done, Courtney, in finding that middle ground that works for everybody. I have to tell you, my heart was breaking when you started to describe what they had to go through to get there. And that's what we're going to jump into now. And that's what the Housing Through the Autism Lens project is hoping to solve. So why we're talking about this today is to raise awareness of the urgent need and the importance of listeners. Share your stories and help the project find solutions. And that's how solutions happen, is through conversations and collaboration. When we work in silos and when we keep our information to ourselves, nobody benefits. And that's not great. This is a problem that millions of Canadians are facing. And while we see statistically more focus on childhood autism, which I've been through, so I'm not in any way, I get it. We forget, Courtney pointed out at the beginning of our conversation, that some services end at 18, some end at 21, but they end.
Yeah.
And a project like this gives an opportunity for that independence building and that skill building to continue. So kudos, ladies. This is amazing. So we've gone over, the genesis of the project and whatever, but tell us what happened, Perry, from sort of the beginning of the idea to where it's become now.
Sure. And I think what you were saying earlier, both you and Courtney, around some of the challenges, I just wanted to underscore a couple of things which we talk about a lot with this project, and that's this issue of the double cliff as it relates to unique housing risks for autistic adults. My son's at the first end of the cliff in terms of emerging adulthood and the lack of options that we were talking about earlier for young people who have varying needs, who have more social vulnerabilities, more stress vulnerabilities, maybe income vulnerabilities. Many autistic adults live at home well into their late adulthood. Many have lower opportunities to and barriers for employment and getting social and are on social assistance. So the issue of affordability, as well as accessibility is really an issue. And then as you get into later adulthood and early seniorhood, that's the other edge of the cliff. When parent caregivers or sibling caregivers are perhaps not able to continue to support an autistic adult who's later in their senior years, then there's a real risk of homelessness and more housing precarity. So this solution lab is really part of, we came together with a range of partners. There's 10 core partner organizations, as well as autistic self-advocates like Courtney, who have been amazing. And the idea is that you can't solve a problem without a range of stakeholder perspectives. And so we put together an application within the Canadian Housing and Mortgage Corporation's innovation stream for what's called a solution lab, which is essentially a space that brings together diverse groups of people to solve for a complex systemic problem. Ooh. And which housing for autistic adults certainly is, because it's not just about the bricks and mortar. The coach house for my son is actually less of the issue than all of the other supports he needs to thrive.
Right.
And it's also not we can afford this as a family, but I was very conscious of the fact that I have privilege, and not every family would be able to do that for their loved ones. So we came together and were successful in terms of an 18-month project, which is designed to gather the lived experiences of autistic adults and those who are their supporters. So family members, service providers, those in the builders community, other stakeholders, to come together to provide stories, what we call micro stories, which can be, short, brief, descriptions of their particular housing experience, good or bad. And then they go through what's called a sensor, which is a tool to have them describe through their own experience, what that microstory means to them. And we are gathering those micro stories right now. We'd love your listeners to go to our website.
I'm just going to give that. So it's
excellent.
HAL-Labs.ca.
And submits one or many micro stories and go through our sensor. It doesn't take very long, because what we're going to do after that is have a group of stories that will allow us to then gather insights from them. We'll come together as a partner group with our stakeholder partners to really look at the patterns and the trends that are coming out of those stories, to then generate insights towards solutions. And then we will have workshops that will develop some ideas and prototypes that will then lead to a policy roadmap at the end, which will then allow us to talk to city officials, to talk to provincial officials, to talk to
the data to back it up.
Exactly. But the difference is that this narrative research is really coming from the perspective of lived experience and giving the meaning yourself to the experience that related to housing from an autistic adult or somebody who's an ally or supporter for that autistic adult. So I think it's a kind of an innovative approach to kind of getting at this issue.
Well, I think anybody, so I have my postgraduate in corporate communications, right? So I have a technology company, but I also have a communications background, and people respond well to stories. And the reason they do that is because you can have empathy and understanding when you can connect your personal experience to what's happening as far as policy creation and what have you. And one of my personal bugaboos is that we are in, I think it's the third or fourth generation of autistic adults trying to gain access and maintain successful employment. And yet there has been no consistent data collection around employment success to adequately inform policy and funding decisions and everything else. Now, CASDA is working to fix that, just like they're working with you guys to help fix the housing situation. But golly dang, people, like, we got to get on this and get the data in there. We need voices like Courtney's to be able to inform policy in an intelligent way. And so folks, I strongly suggest, if you are a parent or you are somebody on the spectrum and this is a situation that you're facing, please visit the HAL-Lab.ca. Go through the whole site because it's got a lot of interesting information. I'm going to, go down the rabbit hole for a little while on it as well. But you can go to micro stories, which is one of the tabs on the top, and suggest, share your story. Perry takes this, she understands from a first person experience the importance of these stories. Courtney is sharing her story with us and her success, but we need all kinds of good and bad. So like I shared, I lived in residence for a year. I'm shaking my head, which you can't see. And I just discovered that that's not a good fit for me. The valid points have been made that a variety of levels of support are required. You have to look at the individual skills, meet them where they are, put a plan in place to develop that independence. And so that people are proficient in their ADLs as part of this project, activities of daily living, so that, like Zach and Ashley, they're able to not only learn to live independently, but how to manage groceries, how to manage a budget, how to do your money, when to ask for help. Please always ask for help if you need it. That is a superpower. That is not a weakness. And this project is going to help. You got me so excited right now. We have to do this again. Okay. So we have a few minutes left. And one thing I would love for Courtney and Perry to jump in on is, how big is this problem? Because people don't understand how big this problem is.
Well, maybe just in terms of the overall statistics, it is a very big problem. And as I was saying earlier, most autistic adults live the research shows well into late adulthood. And when you combine that with, higher rates of mental health issues, higher rates of chronic health issues, and lower rates of income, it's a very challenging combination when it comes to housing precarity. And if there's a life change, particularly if a parent or caregiver or sibling, their status changes and they're the main support, then there's a real risk, a heightened risk of homelessness. And so it is a very big challenge. And I've, met many families, as I've talked to others in Ottawa, who are very, very worried about their love, their kid's future. I want my son to have a life that he defines in his own terms and where he thrives. And but having a place to call home is really the start to having a really secure sense of your the life that you want to lead. Yeah.
And I think, Courtney, would you agree that having that secure housing foundation has been part of the success you found with managing multiple jobs and volunteer? I mean, from the sounds of it, you're doing an excellent job on work-life balance and keeping interest in things going. Would you say that that's been part of your success?
Having a
secure home situation, whatever that has looked like.
Well, that is a tricky question, because over the years I have gone to, as I mentioned earlier, I have gone to different houses. And even though I'm extremely thankful that I've never experienced the worst pitfalls that could happen when you're in a housing situation, like either you find out that the person that you're living with you end up living with an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend, and then it becomes unsafe that way, or you end up with a dump basically of an apartment. I've thankfully never had that. I did have basic referrals from mom and dad. Like even when I was away at university, I could call them once a week and tell them what was going on and get general tips from them.
Right.
But one certainly overall challenge that I did notice, especially in my bachelor's years, and like this is not just for autism, this is just something that can apply to more students, is that there was never really a basic workshop that was offered that could give an overview as to what are basic safe things to look for when you're going for an apartment. And as I said, thankfully, I've never experienced any of the worst pitfalls that could happen when you move outside your parents' house, but there were some tough lessons that I did have to learn along the way, such as I could tell you the first house that I ever lived in that wasn't a university residence or my parents' house. It was situated close to the Portsmouth Olympic Harbor, which is close to the Kingston Penitentiary. Now there was a tavern across the street. The house was positioned in a way that you could never hear the noise really from the tavern.
Still not a great
situation. But anyway, in the harbor close to it, the ship horn to signal activity happening there would go off before 6 o'clock in the morning. And so I'd hear it every morning. I mean, I could laugh about it right now, but that was a tough lesson that I did have to learn. And I did move to another house that was closer to campus, and that's where I lived for my final 2 years of my undergraduate degree. And there is certainly, even though in the case of Ashley and Zach, we're extremely fortunate that we have the apartment that we do right now. I know that in the near future, my dad plans on retiring from his job. And so what care is going to look like for Ashley and Zach, especially because with their degree of support needs, they are people that are going to need some prompting to do things, because if they were just left to themselves, they would just go out of the house for whatever work that they happen to have and just would not otherwise go out of the house. And that's not a good work-life balance. And so what care is going to look like for them a little ways down the road, especially when dad retires. And I know that mom and dad want to sell the family house. It's going to be yet another step to have to think about in the near future. So yeah, this is a bit of a roundabout way. So I'm thankful that I've had several factors that I know that not everybody has been fortunate to have. I've always had mom and dad there. And as I said, I did have enough safety that, as I said, I never ended up in the worst situations that can happen when you live outside of your parents. But there were some tough lessons that I did have to learn along the way. And I've certainly retained them and applied them, and I'm happy to offer them at any time. But there are some serious changes that are going to have to ensure that positive, secure house foundation for more people.
We're going to jump into because I know we have to wrap up. Perry, are you able to just quickly jump into the next steps and broad sharing of findings across Canada? Because I know we have to close in the next minute or two.
Yeah, so just to quickly say that, our research and story collection phase is ongoing right now until mid-March. And then we'll be moving into workshops later in the spring to really start to generate the insights and the ideas that will come out of the research, working with the group of stakeholders that we've brought together from a range of perspectives. As I said, service providers, builders, those from the mental health communities, autistic self-advocates, families. And then the plan will be to start to develop real solutions and prototypes in a bit of a roadmap over the course of the fall and early next year. We will be producing a report as well as a policy roadmaps and other sort of tools to share with families and autistic adults and the organizations that work with them across Canada. But right now, our main goal is to really collect stories from those listening today, because we need, if we have enough stories, we can really start to generate the insights from the research. So really hope that you'll all go to HAL-Lab.ca and help us hear your perspective and voices.
And as we've mentioned in previous, so we're going to wrap up, but as we've mentioned in previous podcasts, the point of this podcast is to include Canadian autistic voices across Canada, not just Ottawa, not just Burlington, not just, Ontario. We want across Canada, because this is a problem that affects all Canadians, all autistic Canadians, all autistic Canadian families. So please don't hesitate. Visit HAL-Lab.ca and learn more about it. You can also visit CASDA and look at how housing is being incorporated into the National Autism Strategy. And as we do, I'm going to have to do a short version because we're running over, but we do share a little human quality. We try to share a little something about our guests. And so Perry, which I shouldn't be surprised because, woman to woman, go sports. But Perry is a huge Saskatchewan Roughriders fan. Mm-hmm. In fact, she's so dedicated. Go Riders. I know nothing about football. Like, I can't even pretend to know something about football. She was such a huge fan that she used to buy her own tickets and go on her own because she had to cheer her Riders on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is kind of fun.
Many a teenage day at Taylor Field in Regina, where I grew up. So
many people have spent their youth more or less productively. Me being one of them. And Courtney, I'm quite fascinated by this. So she is a self-proclaimed punster, which we've decided that Courtney and I are going to chat again on another podcast on a different topic. So we're going to include some puns. So there's your project, Courtney. I want some puns for the next one. But she also does voices of characters, which is very cool. Mm-hmm. I think, what was the one that you did for us? The Wizard of Oz gate fellow.
Oh, can I take a quick sip of water? It's going to be a high note.
I like ending on a high note. That works together. This has been an amazing conversation. And so to end on a high note is always my goal. So hit it.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Okay. So when Dorothy and her friends open the gates to the Emerald City, there's a doorman who's angry that they rang the bell instead of knocking. So he goes, "Who rang that bell?"
And as a huge Wizard of Oz Judy Garland fan, I thank you for that, because
you're very welcome.
It's a good scene.
That was great.
And Frank Morgan was an incredible actor who did multiple roles in that movie. So I can see your affinity for him because of all the stuff that you're doing. So see, you're the new Frank Morgan for the 21st century.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me, ladies. I really appreciate it. And if you're listening to this and housing is a topic that you are intrigued about and want to learn more about, again, visit hal-lab.ca. If you're on the spectrum and you have a story you want to share, Perry would greatly appreciate hearing from you. Share it at the micro stories section of the HAL-Labs website. And we will be talking again soon, I think. I think this deserves another podcast. And we will expand on this because it's bigger than this. It's bigger.
Well, thanks for hosting us, Elizabeth. It was really fun to spend some time with you and Courtney.
Thank you. And I'm going to press stop, but you guys are going to stay for a quick second. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining the conversation about the National Autism Strategy. CASDA is a comprehensive network of autistic Canadians and autism-focused organizations. Our members are united by the shared vision that a national autism strategy will create improvements in the lives of autistic people for generations to come. Please visit CASDA.ca to learn more and keep the conversation going.